Welcome to The Top Out, the show where we talk with entrepreneurs and investors about how they got started, the companies they run, and how they see the future. Brought to you by Redpoint Solutions. Hey, Paul, thanks so much for joining me. It's good to see you.
Likewise. Thank you so much, Dana.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, so I want to start off. There's probably a lot of folks out there who have not seen Phreshly yet or really know what it is. So I'm wondering if you could just tell us the story of founding Phreshly. How did you come up with this idea? Just what's the background?
Yeah, starting Phreshly was purely accidental. So I will sort of like give you a quick bit of a timeline. So March of 2020, myself, just like many Americans, I'm laid off and I'm sitting at home writing a lot of cocktail recipes. Fast forward to the summer of 2020, I sent out a very random tweet after watching the show Insecure on HBO. And the tweet was simply saying, "Hey, I just had Prosecco with vodka and I do not know where I am at in my house." People thought it was funny and the tweet went viral. The interesting thing, though, that happened within that tweet was a lot of people were saying, "Hey, you know what? Making a cocktail at home is way too expensive. I don't want to leave my house and put myself at risk in catching COVID. I want something that could be delivered to my house. But more importantly, I want a premium cocktail with real ingredients, and I know exactly where those ingredients come from." To me, that sounded like that idea scaled, and that's how Freshly started. So when I say it was purely accidental, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, totally. What was the process like? How did you even start making like different recipes and experimenting with it?
Yeah, so this all started in 2014. I had just discovered the Food Network. I had just started watching Top Chef. And so I'll go to restaurants and I'll sit directly at the bar and I'll talk to the chefs and I ask a very simple question: what cocktail would you pair this dish with? And as they tell me, I'll start writing things down. They'll say things like cardamom, they'll say star anise. And I thought, this is very interesting. So I'll go to the farmer's markets, I'll buy, cucumber and things, and I make my own syrups and I'll test with, different spirits
Cool.
at home. And that's how this all really came down. So I started writing these recipes. Fun fact, as of today, I have 312 all original
Whoa.
recipes that I've been writing since 2014. So I guess the sense of making a cocktail has always been authentic to me. However, taking it to market wasn't something that I was very much into because I've spent my entire career in Silicon Valley. So everything sort of really came together at the time when the tweet went viral.
Yeah. So if you and I were sitting down and we're like, all right, we're going to start like a software company, uh, maybe the first thing we would just do is like open a text editor, right? You could just start building something. What do you
Yeah.
do when you want to start a canned cocktail company? Like, how do you even start that?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how we did it, right? Ours was, okay, we have all these incredible recipes and we will bring friends and family in a room and we'll make them for people and say, "Hey, we want to basically sell this to the masses." And they'll say, "My goodness, this tastes horrible. Don't talk to me ever again." And my feelings were hurt, all right? But what was really interesting was we were getting a lot of feedback and saying, "Hey, this is how I want to feel when I have this cocktail. I want something that is highly elevated." And so through a lot of, consumer and customer feedback, if you will, we took that. But the other thing that we did too was we mined social data across multiple social media platforms, right? So we
Interesting.
looked at what people were searching for on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest was actually the largest one. And we take all this data, wrote a SQL query around it to say, okay, what flavors are people looking for? And there was top five. And we said, okay, this is generally what people want, but we want to do something different. So to answer your question more specifically was one, to formulate the flavors that we want to launch with based on consumer feedback and data. And then the second piece is the compliance part, which is the hardest thing that
Yeah.
ever exists. For context, the beverage industry from a compliance side hasn't changed since Prohibition era, right? And that was December 3rd, 1933. I'm going to mention that date again, December 3rd, 1933. That was a long time ago, and it hasn't changed very much since. So a lot of pencil pushing and sort of like bottlenecks when it comes to regulation. And we didn't want to skid around that because once you go into the spirits specifically, you are in the three-tier system, and that is something that is super, super tough to sort of navigate.
Yeah, totally. Well, that kind of leads naturally into my next question, which is about so you'd mentioned kind of working in Silicon Valley. What's it been like transitioning from being in the tech industry to being in the CPG industry? And just can you just contrast and kind of compare those experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the experiences are similar, right? It's sort of like, building a company, being an operator and scaling that. This is what investors want to see. But then on the customer side is to make sure that this product that you're making, it's sort of like it makes a lot of sense. And it's something that they can put their personal brand behind. Because if you look at, CPG world, it's not something that is highly Instagrammable anymore. It's something that I plug in and say, oh, this is, something that I love and I want to put my personal brand behind. What is very similar though is like the fundraising process of talking to investors, right?
Okay.
You might hear, hey, this product is great. However, we're not sure, you're too early, things of that sort. And I think my biggest takeaway from all this is that I am an incredible operator. So is my co-founder. We know we can build a CPG company. We can bring our experience from building tech companies into essentially building a CPG company, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah. I'm totally biased, but I would think that the experience working in tech and scaling a team and thinking about things from a technology perspective would be really valuable for any company. I think
Yeah,
like in this age, there's sort of this argument that every company has to be a tech company, right? Like your healthcare company has to become a tech company. Do you
right.
think that that's also true in something like CPG, whether it's through user research or ideation or things like that?
Yep, the ideation piece is very important. I think if you look at the beverage space specifically, both investors and the consumers looking for something that is very highly innovative. I think your experience when you got Freshly in your house, we really wanted to really sort of like evoke this thought in the consumer's head and say, okay, this is something I've never seen before. The naming convention, the ingredients that we use, and importantly, add in, sort of like this garnish that you can style your own cocktail at home. The same experience that you get, when you go to your favorite restaurant. And I think to your point, it was how do we create something so exciting that the consumer has seen all the time at different channels, but then here is them experiencing that same thing at home that is so different, right? So I think taking that same experience of, okay, how do you create a platform that is tech enabled? We wanted to create something that customers have seen before and it makes so much sense to them.
Yeah, totally. No, I think you guys have done a great job with the whole experience, especially like getting the box. I think we talked about this with Ed on another episode, but kind of expanding your scope of like what is user experience. So like opening the box is a part of the user experience, reading the card that comes with it, getting the garnishes, like all of those things are a part of the experience, which I think takes it to another level versus just getting a can out of like a little plastic,
Right.
bin or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, how, how do you guys plan to differentiate yourselves? Because there are a lot of canned beverage companies out there and more
Yeah.
coming out. And there was obviously a big hard seltzer wave that happened. But how do you guys plan to kind of stand out?
Yeah, I think our differentiator is based on two things. The fact that one, it costs anywhere from $80 to $145 at home to make your own cocktail. And if you're a person like myself that wants to sort of elevate that experience, it's taking you anywhere from 7 to 12 minutes to make that cocktail, right? As a consumer, you do not have that time and or in this inflation spend that much money to do that. Therefore, a cocktail that's in a can that is perfectly mixed, that has incredible taste notes, specifically on the bourbon side and even on the rum side that you can simply enjoy without having to spend that much money and or time. But I think what our bigger differentiator is that one, we're vertically integrated, right? So we source our ingredients specifically from minority-owned
Mhm.
farms all the way from Southern California to here in Georgia. And we use all real ingredients, no artificial flavoring, no additives. And the bigger thing that I always ask my friends and family is, would you rather wear a fake Rolex or a real one? And the answer is, I'd rather wear a real one. I'm like, great. So whenever you're drinking something that has a derivative of vodka or tequila, why do you want to do that, right? So our differentiator is using real ingredients, premium spirits in making cocktails that you can enjoy guilt-free at home. And of course, you get the free garnish that comes in your box. You
Yeah.
can pretend you made the cocktail if you have a friend coming over, and nobody's going to complain.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, the next thing I want to ask you about is if you have any stories of kind of like turning points or pivot points, either in your career or in the journey of Freshly. And, there's a few that I can point to in my life of moments where I could see like the direction of my career changed, usually because of another person that came in, but it could be, any sort of any sort of turning point. But yeah, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I think there's been multiple turning points, and that was, with a conversation that I had recently with my co-founder Amma. She's an incredible operator. Founded a company before that, went through YC, scaled it to millions of dollars. Operating the same space as players like Affirm and Klarna, and she's like kicking butt there, right? And it's really exciting to see that. We really had this like come to Jesus moment and said, hey, listen, DDC is not where things are moving, right? It's on the wholesale side. And so we decided to flip our business around to do just 10% direct to consumer as purely a marketing channel. And then 90%
Mm,
is really going to be focused on specifically on-prem and off-prem accounts, so retail accounts. And we decided, great, how do we then scale this, right? So we're thinking, okay, great. For each account, what is a sell-through rate for retail? Meaning, how many cases are we selling per store? Therefore, that translates to a specific growth amount that we can say, hey, at the end of the day, we're doing 30% year over year in revenue. So I think that moment for us was to really sit down, look at existing data and previous data to say, based on this, this is where the business should go, right? And we're very like data centric as a company, even if, although we're a CPG company, to make sure that the things that we're doing make sense as we continue to scale. Because our bigger goal really is to not only just capture this premium space, but to essentially expand it. I think somebody asked me, hey, have you ever Googled, black-owned cocktail company? It doesn't exist. So essentially, we are the only first one.
yeah.
And it's led by myself and her. We're both born in Ghana. And so we have this sort of like story of wanting to really transport people to a place when they try our cocktails.
Yeah. Have you been able to find a community of other like CPG founders or executives that you've been able to like link into, or I don't really have any like
Yeah.
experience with that.
I mean, so I've always sort of like used Twitter as my CRM, right?
Yeah, totally.
Like bury your head in shame and ask for help. Like, hey, I'm looking for packaging consultants who can help and things like
Yeah.
that. Um, I would love to see more diversity in the CPG space. And I've said this publicly on Twitter before. Even from a fundraising perspective, it is tough, right? Here you go with like, two new kids on the block, building a beverage brand in a space that is very, very packed. And rightfully so from investors saying, hey, this is too packed of a space. What they don't typically understand is that everything that they're seeing is malt-based liquor, seltzer brands, and not necessarily something built on actual premium spirits, using actual ingredients, like Freshly is, right? And I don't blame them for that. But to your question more specifically, it's been sort of like tough to break it into a space that has been very heavily guarded
Yeah.
by players who are sort of like, like I've been doing this a while, worked in private equity and raising all the money. And my goal is in a very softer way. I'm just here to kick down the door and let other people in a way that it becomes a level playing field from a diversity perspective, right? There are incredible amount of immigrants building amazing brands that you see every day at Foxtrot, Whole Foods, and other marketplaces. Most of them women, most of them Asian,
Hmm.
and I'm super excited to kind of see this space grow and have a space that is safe for like every single person to be able to build and scale a brand.
Yeah. Are you guys raising primarily from like tech focused venture capitalists, or are there like corporate venture arms of, P&G and like other CPG companies? What does that landscape look like?
Yeah. So our very first check, this is pre-product, by the way, came from a huge alcohol conglomerate. Can't mention their name now, but
Sure.
they own a lot of brands. And if you were to think about it, there's probably 80% chance you know who they are.
Yeah.
And that really helped us to get to like our first production. And there's an incredible amount of advice we got from them to sort of like really prepare us for retail. But at the moment, we're looking to raise from both angels and or other VC that have focused on VC consumer space. And even if there's a tech-enabled VC that's like, listen, there's something here that I want to invest in, we're very open to speak to them. I think what we're looking for isn't just the typical founder-friendly VC that will fly you to Hawaii and put in a private jet. I think what's important is to find that VC or an angel that I can call on at say 2 o'clock in the morning. Not saying that I will, but say, hey, we're about to launch in Whole Foods, right? Anything that you can share there. How do we do X, Y, Z? So I think having that ally is also what we look for in the people that we're going to have on our cap table.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's kind of the long-term vision for Phreshly? Where would you like to see the company 10
Yeah,
years from now, or yourself personally?
yeah. I think for the company side, is to really have an end-to-end cocktail experience, right? And what I mean by end-to-end cocktail experience is we have our own cocktail infusion kits that we make. So whether you're the guy or gal that's like, hey, I want to, pour vodka into this jar and make an incredible cocktail, you can. Or even if you're a sober curious person, you can get non-alcoholic vodka, gin, tequila, and pour it over one of our infusion kits and have an incredible cocktail experience at home. Now, that's something that we can play into specialty stores that don't necessarily sell alcohol, or even for the sober curious person who doesn't drink. Down the journey, though, is Phreshly cocktails themselves that you can also purchase, right? So you can do the bottling there, but also to be able to tell that story through the entire customer life cycle is essentially what we're looking to do. But I think the bigger thing here is, as I mentioned before, is to capture and expand this premium category that we're in. That
Mhm.
is a bigger 10-year goal for us. Of course, launching more SKUs and more products as we continue to grow. And then for myself is to, just continuously foster this space of new and up and coming founders, whether it's beverage or other brands, and to be able to sort of like help them as much as I can, as I've gotten help from some incredible people that I've met over the past 2 years.
Could you see that turning into kind of a personal mission, is to help bring other founders from diverse backgrounds into the space and help them find success?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I think my wife, playfully said, maybe you should find a founder in residence role at a VC that is really focused on building, a pipeline of minority owned brands that specific VC can invest in. And I think she has a point. So yeah, to your question, that's something that I really want to do. I think I've been on this side of the aisle to know that this is not a fun journey.
Hmm.
From having term sheets pulled or having an investor say, hey, you're too early for us, or oh, you're only focused on 5 national accounts, it should be 20 or 30, right? All of this, it really sets me into a place of, okay, I'm going to go out there and prove you wrong. And I think there's incredible founders out there that are building things that are set to really prove everybody wrong. And I really want to be able to be available, but also helpful enough, whether it's from a VC perspective or just an advisor perspective also.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, let's do a shameless plug. Where can people find Phreshly online? And yeah, where can people find you?
Yep. At the moment, direct to consumer online. So you can get our cocktails at freshly.co. You can also use the code free ship, all in capital letters, for free shipping to 48 states. Wherever you are, we'll get it to you. But in the coming months, we're launching in retail in Florida, in the Midwest, in California. Can't mention the stores just yet, but you're just going to have
Yep.
to follow the journey and find out where we end up.
Awesome. I love it. That's super exciting that you're launching in retail. That's awesome.
Yes, absolutely. I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, that's badass. I was telling Paul before we started. I got the 8 pack from Freshly.co. It was awesome. It was a great experience. The cocktails were awesome. I had friends over and we had a little party, and it was really fun. So we'll post a link with the episode and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope people check it out for sure.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you. I appreciate you taking this time to talk to us. It's really exciting watching the company grow and following you online. I'm really rooting for you guys. I think you're going to find a ton of success. And yeah, just excited to watch the journey.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We're super excited for what's in the works, and really looking forward to really build and scale this brand.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Talk soon.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Thank you so much for watching this episode.